Guys, Renee Lee here, your Soul Purpose Success Mentor. I want to talk to you about pivot years. I want to talk to you about God breadcrumbs and creating impact now because life is precious. You never know if tomorrow will come for you, right? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Um, I'm in this interesting frame of mind because of a couple of things. One, it's a pivot year. So if you follow me since last year, you know that 2019 is a big pivot year for me. It's also a completion year for me, numerology wise. And it's the year that I'm turning 40. So all of that's having me feel some way. Nothing bad, but, really just taking stock of, well, what's been my impact? What do I really want to create with this next part of my life? And on top of all of that, I got news that a friend of mine that I recently reconnected with, her husband was diagnosed with cancer last year, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and which is the same disease that took my cousin's life when I was much younger. And but he's in remission now. So he did a year. He went the standard route and did chemotherapy, and he's in remission. And he took the chemo really well. So. And then a couple of years ago, another friend of mine from college passed away of cancer as well. I'm not sure what kind of cancer he had, but I heard news that a friend passed away. And life is short. Like, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And so you just want to really be, or I do, I'll speak for me, right? Like, I just want to be really committed to making the impact I'm meant to make. And so that's why I don't delay in saying yes and surrendering to my God breadcrumbs. Okay, because you never know. Like, I don't want to leave this earth incomplete with the impact I was meant to create. I don't want to leave this earth incomplete with my soul's purpose. And so I've always followed my God breadcrumbs because I don't want to live with regrets or leaving complete. And so I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years. So for those of you that are new, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years. This is my third business. It's my second business. That's 6 figures. And it's because I've always followed my God breadcrumbs. And pivot years, by the way, are a huge God breadcrumb. It's spirit telling you, hey, let's just kind of change the direction that you're going in, whether it be a small pivot or a big pivot. And I've had both big and small pivots. So 2019 right now, the year we're in, is a pivot year for me, but it's my third pivot year across my 12 years as an entrepreneur. My first pivot being 2011, when Spirit asked me to leave my 6-figure database consulting business to start all over with a healing practice. Now, at that time, I didn't know my healing practice was going to evolve into what it is today, which is, a combination of spiritual development, personal development, and business development. I didn't know. I just knew that I was meant to do sacred work. And at that time, I was a healer. And so that's what I built on, right? That's what I started with. So 2011 was a massive pivot year. It was completely, leaving one sector, coming to a brand new sector, leaving, my business, which was I was at the top rung of the ladder, getting referred out by board members to other board members. And it was all word of mouth. I was making 6 figures in my first business, all through word of mouth. And then to come and start at the bottom rung of the ladder with my healing practice in a whole new industry, it was pretty wild. It was pretty scary. It was really crazy to my husband. But I did it. I surrendered. It did take me 1 year of straddling. I'm not going to lie. It took me 1 year of straddling. And because of who I am and how I stream from my I am, I manifest in my body extremely quickly. And, around, the 6-month mark or so, I had horrible knee pain. It was just a sudden onset. I couldn't walk up the stairs in the subway. I couldn't bend down to bathe my 1-year-old son, not even one. He wasn't even one yet, my infant son. And so it was really scary. And I got really clear that it was because I was afraid to walk into the unknown that it manifested in knee pain, right? Because knee Knee is ego, by the way. Knee is ego, and it's also walking into the unknown. So it's the fear of the unknown and my ego, because I didn't want to leave the top rung of the ladder and start at the bottom rung of the ladder. To me, that was not a good look. And so it was a combination of the two that manifested into knee pain. And I worked through that out by surrendering. And in 2 weeks of serious fear that I was having a serious knee issue, went away like that, completely gone. Because I surrendered to my God breadcrumb. But I'm also the type of person that just can't live with regret. And I'm also, if there's no passion behind it, I can't do it. I just can't. So many colleagues were like, why are you leaving the database business? Just hire subcontractors, right? Like contract it out, and you can still hold the business and have residual income from it. I couldn't do that. I'm not that type of person. And Spirit shut the switch off. I was no longer passionate about database. And I really genuinely was extremely passionate about database and data normalization and custom report creation. I was that kind of a nerd and guru with data. I loved it. And the switch just turned off. That was 2011. Spirit said, nope, time for you to pivot. So I had my healing practice, I did spiritual development work, and then come 2016, right after I did my retreat in Mount Shasta, Spirit had me pivot again. And Spirit said, it's time for you to now, this was great training the last few years. Now it's time for you to work with leaders, spiritual leaders, and really help them to step into the leader they're meant to be and get them to this point called soul purpose success. And that was Spirit's term. And so I said, okay. And so all of a sudden, my healing and spiritual development business became personal development, spiritual development, as well as business development. And that was really my holistic approach to business building over the last couple of years, that this is what I've been teaching, right? And so that was it was a big deal, because I had my tribe, my existing tribe, that were with me because they wanted to tap into higher consciousness. They were with me to meet their spirit guides. Some of them were not entrepreneurs. And all of a sudden, I'm talking about business. And all of a sudden, I'm talking about marketing. And for them, that's so from the head, right? And not a spiritual thing. And so people were confused, and it took them a minute, but it also took me a minute. I was also confused. And this is what's true about pivot years. In a pivot year, as you surrender, there will be pockets of, what am I doing? Like, does this make sense? How do I connect the dots? How do I connect the dots? If they're meant to be connected, like how? So there's a lot of questioning, some confusion. And so because I've gone through 2 massive pivot years, I'm actually quite okay with being still in 2019, my 3rd pivot year across my 12 years as an entrepreneur. But in 2016, when I was asked to really add on this piece of business development, it took me a minute, but towards the end of that year, I was able to string it all together and be like, hey, you guys, like, it's not just marketing. It's really the same conversation I've been having. It's still all about energy. It's still an energetic approach to business building. It's still the path to ascension. And I got really clear, because what happens when you, the spiritual entrepreneur, the soul purpose driven entrepreneur, what happens when you reach success? Well, you've mastered a ton of fear. You've stepped into a whole new level of power. Your vibration is different. Your life may look different as a result of your new vibration and who you're being. You've created a whole new world because you've mastered all that fear and stepped into your power, right? And so that path to success is also the path to ascension and higher vibration. For me, it was the same conversation I've always been having, right? Just with a new perspective, new lens, leading my teachings in a different, leading with different stories and a different perspective, but really still having the same conversation, which is, let's evolve your energy. Let's evolve your energy, evolve your consciousness, elevate your energy field, get you to what I call ascension. And so, or you could say self-mastery too, right? And so here I am in 2019, and Spirit is saying, okay, great. You've done great work for others as well as for yourself, for me, right? Because I've grown tremendously since 2016. I'm a different entrepreneur than I was 3 years ago. I'm a different mother than I was 3 years ago. I'm a different wife. I'm a different daughter. For those of you that have followed me the past few months or the past 6 months, you know that I created a miracle with regards to my relationship with my mother. Complete miracle, which is a complete transformation. And I got my mother back, and she has her daughter back. So since 2016, I'm a completely different entrepreneur, completely different wife, completely different mother, completely different daughter. And so I'm ready for something different. I'm ready for this new level that Spirit has been preparing me for. And so Spirit says, okay, great. You've got the three pieces: spiritual development, personal development, business development. Spirit is now asking me to kind of just shift priority and just rearrange the order of the three. And Spirit's asking me to lead now with the spiritual development and the personal development. And so I said yes. I surrender. This is the easiest way. We don't want to resist pivot years. We don't want to resist Spirit guidance, because then we're going to feel the stuckness. And that is way more uncomfortable than going with the flow and letting Spirit guide you and walking through the fears and stepping into your power. I think being stuck is way more uncomfortable than the discomfort you may feel stepping into your greatness and your potential. That's me, right? And so I always say yes to my God breadcrumbs. Also, again, because I don't want to leave this earth incomplete. I don't want to leave this earth incomplete, not having fulfilled the impact that I'm meant to have in the world, not impacting the souls that I told them I would help, before I came into this incarnation. I don't want to leave here incomplete. That's my commitment to me. And so I can't help but say yes to all of my God breadcrumbs and to all the Spirit guided pivots. And so here I am in 2019. And I'm doing what I always did in past pivot years, which is paralleling my walk. I have an event coming up in May, Your Soul's Core Message, where, by the way, this will be the last retreat that I do for business development, specifically for entrepreneurs. Okay. It will be my last one for entrepreneurs. It may be my last one altogether. But we'll see. Yet to be seen. But definitely it'll be my last one specifically talking to entrepreneurs. So if you are, if you've been delaying working with me or getting in contact with me, coming to one of my events, this is the time to do it. This upcoming May in Tarrytown, New York, May 12th through the 14th, Your Soul's Core Message. And it'll be amazing because we're going to not only get clear on your soul's core message, but we're going to build out a mini library of content that's aligned with your soul's core message, so you can really get visible and start to attract your soul clients and not leave this earth incomplete, right? I really, really urge you to get on with it. I urge you to stop delaying. Stop delaying. It doesn't have to be the way that, it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it's going to be in your head. It doesn't have to be as uncomfortable as you think it's going to be. It doesn't have to be any of those ways. Just say yes and surrender and see how Spirit ushers in a flow, a divinely perfect flow of opportunities and validation that you're on the right path. You're going to feel so much closer to God when you say yes and surrender. It's so juicy. It's so good. Yes. And so don't delay. Don't delay. Don't leave this earth incomplete. Yeah. If you're called to work with me, come to May, to Tarrytown in May, to the Soul's Core Message Retreat. Additionally, I said I'm paralleling the walk, right? So my Um, I have an event coming up in April. We're in April, so at the end of the month, I'm going to play around with a brand new speech, a brand new talk titled Beyond Buddhism Blueprints, an Asian American woman's path to freedom and power from culture and tradition. Brand new talk, brand new speech. I'm playing with it because I'm saying yes to God. God wants me to start sharing my story from this new lens of my Asian American experience. And it's really still all about spiritual development, right? It's really how I broke free from limiting religion, limiting cultural mindsets, limiting immigrant mindsets, tradition that wanted to kind of like box me in, right? And me choosing my soul instead, me choosing me instead of something called duty. And so I'll be talking about that and how I expanded my spirituality once I went beyond Buddhism and how that led me to real experiences, personal experiences with God, how that led me to discovering my soul's purpose and aligning with my divine blueprint, how that got me to here in the mountains, with my kids in private school, how it got me to this life that I never, ever imagined I would have as an immigrant, growing up as an immigrant. So that's what that talk will be about at the end of this month. And I'm excited. I'm excited for both, this brand new talk, which is aligned with the pivot and this beautiful Soul's Core Message Retreat coming up in Tarrytown in May, which is going to be a ton of value for the entrepreneurs that show up and really choose to align with their soul rather than align with, marketing buzz strategies that other gurus talk about or teach. So I'm excited. I know I'm coming off really melancholy. I'm just being still in the pivot year. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. And I know by the end of 2019, everything's going to make sense. Things will fall in place. And I'll be like, I'm on the other side. This is just how it goes, And so if you're in a pivot year, like, don't fret about it, just kind of write it out, be still in it. Don't get paralyzed in your pivot year, like continue, say yes to it is what I would urge you to do. And then just see what unfolds, right? Like just keep going. There's so much more clarity on the other side. There's so much more expansion and growth on the other side. So that's it. I don't know how long I've been recording. I hope this is of value to you. So let me know in the comments what you think. Are you in a pivot year? Are you, following your God breadcrumbs? How do you feel about leaving this life incomplete, right? Like, do you even think that's possible? So let me know in the comments below.